Tommy Rex, and you're listening to today's Boondoggle.
This is Mark Metcalf, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio.
You are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio. Yes, Kato Kalin listens to this all the time.
Welcome to today's Boondoggle. Now here's your host.
What's going on, everybody? It's Bill Bailey with today's Boondoggle, and man, am I stoked for this interview today. I get to talk to a legend, Mr. Clint Howard. How you doing, Clint?
I'm doing well. Driving around the streets of Southern California.
Nice. Enjoying that sunshiny weather out there. Love it.
72 degrees with light winds.
Nice. So, usually when I have people on, I like to go back with them. But, it was already kind of in your genetics as a child actor. But was there anything else that when you were a kid that you were like, man, I want to be this when I grow up? Or has acting always been that thing?
Well, no. To be honest, Bill, acting has never been that thing. It's been a job. I enjoy it. It's a wonderful job. I never dreamed of being an actor. I dreamed of being a Major League Baseball player. I knew right away I wasn't going to make the NBA because, we didn't have anybody much taller than 6 foot in our family. And I ended up being 5'7". So I knew that wasn't going to be good enough to play in the NBA. But as a kid, I had dreams of being a Major League Baseball player.
Nice. And then, getting into obviously performing with it being a family job and everything. What was, one of your earliest shows was Gentle Ben, and this was before CGI. What was it like being a kid working around a live grizzly bear?
Okay, Bill. Well, first of all, it wasn't a grizzly bear. It was a California black bear. And Bruno was very tame and relaxed and very copacetic around people. And I learned right away that the bear, my safety with the bear was not going to be an issue. The only issue that we had is the bears are pretty slow. And we filmed in Florida, and he had a big fur coat, and he got hot pretty quickly. So oftentimes, he didn't really want to work. He'd rather go sit in the shade. And when the star of the show wants to sit in the shade, things don't get done.
Gotcha. And then obviously, you had that part with your brother Ron and Andy Griffith's show. What was it like, working under that learning tree and working with your brother?
Well, I have no memories of working on the Andy Griffith Show. When I worked on the Andy Griffith Show, I was, 2, 3, 4 years old. And I have glimpses of a memory about things in my life, but it had nothing to do with show business. So I can't remember. My memories of show business really started happening when I was about 6. So there was a 4-year period where I was working and I don't remember.
And how old were you during that infamous, with that infamous character, Blaylock in Star Trek?
I believe I was 7 years old when we shot the episode, The Corbomite Maneuver. It was in 1966, and I believe I was 7 years old. And I do remember that. Although it's odd, Bill, I remember rehearsing. I remember the process of getting on the skull cap, to make me bald, because they asked me if I would be willing to shave my head, and I said no. I was going to public school, and there was no way I'm going to the 2nd grade bald. So they put a skull cap on me, And I remember that process. But actually, the working part of my job in Star Trek, I have no memories of.
Gotcha. How did you feel about returning as that character during the roast of William Shatner?
I enjoyed it. Enough time had passed to where I really appreciated, what Star Trek meant to people and what Bill Shatner meant to people. And, it was a roast. It was all in good fun. And listen, if somebody's willing to be roasted, I'm willing to participate. It's not like he was caught off guard. I mean, when people get roasted, they know what's happening, and it's all in good fun. I mean, I like Bill. I've met Bill a handful of times throughout, our lives together, and I've always found him to be a really interesting guy. I really admire what he did building Captain Kirk. I mean, if you think about it, the show wasn't on for very long, and yet his work built an impression that has stayed in the minds of the public for over 60 years.
Oh, yeah.
So my wife Kat and I, we run into him once in a while at, we go to conventions, science fiction conventions, pop conventions, horror conventions, and Bill likes to go out and meet the people, sign autographs, and he likes to swap stories, and Bill's always good for a panel, and he's a really interesting guy, very entertaining. My goodness, he's in his 90s now, and he's still really, really sharp. And God, I hope I'm sharp when I make it to 90.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of meeting him at one of those movie cons as well. Like I met you when you were here in Cleveland for Nightmare Cleveland.
Oh, that's right. That you're right. I do remember.
Yeah, and it was awesome getting to meet you and Kat and talking with you guys and being able to set this up with you. Been really excited about this conversation.
Well, cool. And listen, let's continue to have at it.
Yeah. So of course, I wanted to look out for some of your other movies and stuff that I hadn't got a chance to watch yet. And I just recently checked out Evilspeak, which I don't know if you talk about quite a bit, but your role as Private Cooper Smith, your starring role in that movie. What was that experience like for you?
Well, that was big, Bill. I mean, that was the first adult starring role that I really had. I as an adult, I worked in Rock and Roll High School, although it was, I was 18 years old when we shot Rock and Roll High School. But Evilspeak carried a lot of weight, and I was number one on the call sheet, as they say. I had a lot to do. The plot kind of spun around me, and also the nature of the plot was, had some weight to it. I mean, here's a boy that gets picked on to the point where he conjures up the devil, and the devil answers his requests to give him the power to kill people. I mean, my goodness. In fact, I had a wonderful experience working on the movie. There was the cinematographer, a guy named Irv Goodenough, who I've worked with several times in my career. He was a wonderful man. The kids that played in the military academy, I appreciated all of them, although the kids that played my adversaries, they gave me the cold shoulder during filming. So I didn't have a relationship with my bad guy, my enemies. The only person I had a relationship with, and he's a really nice guy, is Haywood Nelson. Haywood Nelson is, first of all, he was the one guy on the set that I could go to and talk to, because everybody else my age they were shining me on. And Haywood was very friendly, and Haywood's a really great guy. He's got a great gal. He stays active. He's actually getting ready to produce a movie, and we're pretty good friends. So the four of us, hang out whenever we get a chance in Las Vegas. That's where Haywood and Paula live, is in Vegas.
Nice. Yeah, I really enjoyed that film, and the early computer days, like how Satan infiltrates through the internet. And look where we're at today. But
Yeah.
do you think a part of
You could
why?
make
Oh, go ahead.
No. You would think that somebody would have made a sequel to Evilspeak, because in a way, you're right. I mean, technically, there was no internet back in 1981. There was no Stanley was not operating, in the internet that we know. But to do a story about evil really rearing its head through the internet, I mean, yeah, it's thought provoking.
Yeah, with AI and everything today, yeah, there definitely should be a sequel. Seems like you guys planted the seeds back then.
Yes, well, hey, speaking of sequels, it's not really a sequel, but we're going to make another Ice Cream Man.
Yes,
my
and
my wife.
I was going to get to that with you. Yeah, Ice Cream Man.
Well, yeah, and it's really fun. We've got a fun project brewing. We consider ourselves in pre-production. We're putting the pieces together. Kat is really dynamic as far as showing, leadership, and I'm going to co-direct the movie. And there's I can't name drop actors, but we're going to have some really cool surprises. People that show up that you would expect that or not expect. It's just fun. And of course, there's going to be a few Easter eggs buried into the script that are homages to the other Ice Cream Man, the one I made in 1995.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I was going to ask about Ice Cream Man because I watched Ice Cream Man as well, and it seems like my segue was going to be what's with you and dogs losing their lives in these movies. You lost poor Fred the pup in Evilspeak, and then you go over and poor Mrs. Nurse Wharton's puppy in Ice Cream Man.
Yeah, well,
I didn't recognize.
listen, yeah, Fred, for me, that was an emotional scene to do, and the way I lived inside of that character of Stanley Cooper Smith, when his little dog gets killed, and I even have a hard time saying it now. We were a team, Fred. We were a team, and in fact, for a long time in my adult career, when I needed to dip into my soul and get emotional, if I needed to draw tears into a performance, I would think about what Stanley was going through at that moment, right before he really becomes possessed. When after they killed his little dog. And Mrs. Wharton, listen, we had our tongues firmly planted in our cheeks when we were making Ice Cream Man. And of course, as you can see by these special effects, that no dog was hurt in the making of the movie.
Yeah.
And I love the line, "No, Mrs. Wharton, I did not see your dog." I just think that was I thought that was cool. So
Yeah.
anyway, I
Well,
I really appreciate.
I was thinking too. You were
go
kind
ahead.
of like the original John Wick. When those guys mess with your dog, you really got revenge on them.
Well, yeah, that could be. That's actually a really interesting way of looking at it. Hey, I've always appreciated Ice Cream Man. No, that's not completely true, Bill. I didn't always appreciate it. It's the same with all of these niche kind of parts that I play. I didn't really appreciate Star Trek for a big part of my career. I didn't, it took me a while. I was well into adulthood before I recognized what Star Trek had really done for people. Star Trek changes lives. Star Trek affected millions of people. I was in Apollo 13, and
Yeah.
and I was around a lot of friggin', rocket scientists. I was around a lot of people that were really smart astrophysicists, and they loved their Star Trek, and a lot of them got into the space business because of their love for Star Trek.
Nice. Now back with Ice Cream Man too. What I enjoyed, with like you said, is very tongue in cheek, and there was that one part too where the I forget what her name was. The let's just say the very promiscuous woman that was in there, and
Oh yeah, that one.
you're yeah, and you were like cleaning up the ice cream tanker and pull out her diaphragm and to make some good ice cream. I thought that was pretty funny. And
you got to understand, Bill, that when you're making a movie like Ice Cream Man, and you're shooting really fast, and you're working for 14 or 15 hours at a day sometimes, you're grinding away. The nuances, you don't see them on the day. You don't see it at the day. You don't really notice it. You're working so hard, you're hustling to just get the shots done, that it's not until the thing gets cut together and put out and an audience reacts to it do you really understand. Yeah, but the diaphragm thing is funny. Also, listen, a classic, and it's really so silly, but the classic is once Gregory starts going on his killing spree, and once he starts putting body parts in ice cream, it's when Lee Majors Jr. eats the eyeball. I mean,
yeah.
eating the eyeball is a memorable scene in the original Ice Cream Man. But we're going to have in another Ice Cream Man, we hope to have a dozen of those moments where people, as they say in the business, hero moments.
One thing that I noticed too is like when you were in the asylum, when they would show those scenes, and they kept chanting "Only happy days." Was there a subliminal message? Was that intentionally added?
Oh, I don't think it's that subliminal, Bill. I mean, listen, I don't believe. I think a little bit. That's just kind of a natural pun that happened. I don't believe that, Norman wrote that line knowing that I was going to say it. And in fact, Norman Epstein, the original director of Ice Cream Man, had hired somebody to play Ice Cream Man, and it wasn't me. And it was actually a guy that he knew, an actor that he knew. And during the casting process, my agent submitted me for the movie, and they saw me. Norman saw me, and immediately when I came in and auditioned, Norman said, "We got to hire Clint Howard." And so they had to actually pay off the other actor. They paid him. It wasn't a lot of money, but they had to pay him because they did agree to hire him. So I replaced the guy, and the script was already written, where that crazy doctor in help me out. What was the name of the asylum?
Wishing Well.
Wishing Well.
Wishing
The Wishing Well.
Yeah.
Wishing Well. Not every day is a happy day. And once I got to the set, we played with that a few times, but it was already originally in the script.
I love the scene too when you do the double scoop knockout on Lee Majors Jr. and Jan Michael Vincent from the top of the ice cream truck with the big scoopers. That was some skill right there.
Yeah, it was also a stunt man. Just I'm spoiling things. I'm spoiling things for all the fans, but as with any movie, no producer is going to allow their star actor to make a jump like that, even on the mats.
Yeah.
Because it's just too dangerous. And listen, you hear stories about famous movie stars doing their own stunts, and I'm just letting the world know that, you know, they may call it a stunt. They may call jumping off of an apple box onto a pad a stunt, but they certainly aren't going to allow a movie star to do really dangerous things because the insurance company just wouldn't allow it.
Yeah. And then, you know, you were saying now you're doing a kind of reimagining of Ice Cream Man, but it did kind of leave it open with Small Paul at the end for a sequel. Will there be any Small Paul appearances?
Hey, you know, Bill, for the first time driving here in Southern California, I tucked myself right next to a semi and must have gotten in the way of the signal a little bit because you broke up on me. Can you repeat that question?
I was asking if, you know, I know you're doing a reimagining of Ice Cream Man, but with the original, it kind of ended with the possibility of a sequel involving Small Paul. So will there be a Small Paul cameo possibly in the reimagining?
Well, first of all, it's a completely different movie. That's why we're calling it Another Ice Cream Man. It's not. Gregory is dead. Gregory does not live in the same universe that our characters live in. It's just, you know, our characters live in a special town, and this guy is an ice cream man, and his name is not Gregory Tudor. The only similarities is I, as an actor, in playing an ice cream man. So, but you know, I don't want to give anything away, but we have kicked around the idea of Mike is his name, Mikey LeBeau, of, you know, bringing in characters like that for cameos. But Small Paul, there's just no place in the plot for a character named Small Paul.
Gotcha. Now, looking back at your career too, I know, you know, my girlfriend's a firefighter and EMT, so one of her favorite movies is Backdraft.
Oh,
wanted
wow.
to ask you.
Well, my wife, hold on, let me stop for a second.
All
My
right.
wife went through the fire academy here in Los Angeles. Well, not LA County, but she went through the fire academy and passed. And also, we have a son who's a hot shot, works for the National Forest Service. So, you know, we have firefighting in our blood.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, my girlfriend's looking at, you know, getting into the Forest Service and maybe us moving out west sometime. But yeah, she's got a top fire card and working on her. She's in school for a paramedic right now.
Well, Rio loves it. He's in great shape. He's, you know, and he's enjoyed it. He is looking to do other things within the business of being a fireman. But for right now, and it's been about 4 years. For 4 years, he's been a hot shot.
Nice.
Hey, listen,
But
when they drive you up to remote canyons on very remote roads and drop you off, or God forbid, they put you in a helicopter and they take you by helicopter to a spot high in the hills and set you down with equipment and tell you to fight the fire. It's a dangerous job.
yeah, the fire tower watch, usually going away for a couple weeks or something.
Yeah, yes. Rio's gone for a couple of weeks at a time. And this summer out west, it was a pretty hot fire season. So, you know, he was gone for a couple of weeks and would come home, and 3 days later he was off somewhere else for 10 days, and he'd come home and he'd go back out. It was, you know, he enjoys it. So I don't think we can say a bad thing. First of all, you can't say a bad thing about firefighting.
No.
I mean, first responders, people that show up to fires, people that show up to crime scenes, to crimes. I mean, my goodness. I mean, you know, this is off the subject of being a fireman, and I know you want to talk about Backdraft, but anybody who has to show up to work in a flak jacket, and now I'm talking about being a cop, I have to salute them. I have to take my hat off to them because my goodness, you know, to think that you're getting ready to go to work and, oh, by the way, let me put on this bulletproof vest. It's just, you know, I admire that, and I admire what firemen do. So, you know, and I felt like that my brother made a really great, entertaining movie. Backdraft was really, really a good movie, and I was really proud to be a part of it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that scene you got to do with Robert, working with Robert De Niro. Like, what was that like for you?
Well, it was a great, probably still the greatest work day as an actor I've ever had. Um, you know, I auditioned for the part, and people, you know, that was the last time I ever had to audition for one of my brother's movies. But I auditioned for the part. He felt I was right. I was playing this autopsy technician named Rico, and my scene was with De Niro, and I was pumped. I was really, really pumped, and I was prepared. And Ron had told me that he's meticulous in his preparation, and I was encouraged to do a lot of preparation. In fact, I went down to the LA County morgue and watched morgue technicians and doctors perform autopsies, just to get a feel, not get a feel for what they do, but get a feel for their behavior. So anyway, and because I heard De Niro had done that. So anyway, I show up to work with Robert De Niro, and he's a really wonderful guy, and he kind of gets started slow. He likes to take things easy. I was told that there's going to be a lot of takes involved, and sure enough, there was. But by the 7th or 8th take, the scene is really, really cooking. He's really good, and you know, when you're playing, it's like playing golf with good golfers. The better your competitors are, the better you play. And you know, an actor is not a competitor, but we're in the scene, and the juices are cooking, and I'm feeling really good. And we took a break after a couple hours of filming, and I was feeling really confident. And I went to stand next to Ron and kind of shoot the shit, and I was feeling really happy. And the craft service person, the person that delivers food, they put food out for the crew, and then sometimes they will make special food and walk onto the set and deliver it to the crew. And at the time, the woman who was the craft service person was doing that, and she was carrying around a tray of broccoli pizza. And when the woman came by and offered it to Ron and myself, I looked at it, and I just, like an a-hole, I said, "Who the hell would want broccoli pizza?" And I said it really loud. And Ron had to lean over to me and said, "Well, this is Bob's favorite pizza." And immediately I had my foot in my mouth, and I turned around, and Bob was about 10 feet away from me, certainly within earshot of me saying, you know, "What idiot would eat broccoli pizza?" He didn't hold it against me. We continued working, although I've never worked with him again. Well, that's, you know, that ends up being the case a lot of times. I worked with a lot of wonderful actors. I had a great experience working with Sylvester Stallone, and yet over the years, there's just never been an opportunity to work with him again. I would love to. I think Sly's a, you know, great guy, but working with De Niro was all time. And also, you know, Billy Baldwin was, you know, in the movie.
Yeah.
Kurt Russell was great. Kurt Russell was great in that movie.
Nice. And you'd mentioned a good game of golf. Well, this might not be a good segue, but it had me start thinking about Happy Gilmore, which takes me to Adam Sandler. And you had an opportunity going from De Niro to be, let's see, Nipples and Little Nicky. What was that like?
Well, yes, it was awesome. Well, first I was Paco in Waterboy. And what Adam has been able to do with his sense of humor and his career and his idea of story and his idea of characters, I have so much respect for, because that young man, he's not so young anymore, he's younger than I am, but that young man frigging knew what he was doing. And You know, he wasn't distracted by any of the fame of show business. He wasn't distracted by any of the distractions that are available for people, especially young people. You know, he kept his mind on the business. He knew what was funny. And in particular, in Waterboy, there was one line that we were rehearsing the scenes, and there was a line that included, I meant Joe Mantegna. And I said the line, and I wasn't feeling it. And I went up to Adam and I said, Adam, do you think there's a better punchline than this? I'm not sure a laugh happens here. And he looked at me and he goes, no, trust me. This is really funny. And I did trust him. And I said the line. I wasn't really believing in it, but I said it. And sure enough, to this day, when I go to an autograph show, about half the time when I do a signature from Waterboy, I'll say, I meant Joe Mantegna. So thank you. Thank you, Adam. And Nipples, that, I don't need luck. I'm good. That, Adam as the creative mind, he has writers. Tim is one of his close friends and a writer, but it all goes through Adam. It's his sensibility. He put it on a tee for me. And I hit it out of the park, I think. I mean,
Oh yeah, definitely. And one of the, I think, you've had such an illustrious career, but I think one of the latest things that I was able to see was your appearance in Terrifier 3. What was it like being a part of something that's blown up so big in the horror world, and having Art the Clown take you out?
Well, first of all, Art the Clown is one of the nicest guys in the world. David Howard Thornton is such a genuine mensch. And the whole team, Phil Falcone, Damien Leone, his whole team that they assembled, they're such great people. On the set, it was such a good vibe. And I was rooting for him. And I knew, both Kat and I knew that they had something. Kat identified it years before, because we met David Howard Thornton at a convention, and there were people walking around as Art the Clown. So, they'd already made the first Terrifier and they made the second Terrifier. And Kat goes, this is going to be huge. This is going to be huge. And then once we met David, we go, man, this is going to work. And Damien, and then they invited me to come along and play in their playpen. And we had a wonderful time, and I can't say enough about those guys. And the success that they've had, they could not have happened to better people.
Yeah, it's definitely been something that's been that has blown up in the horror genre. I've kind of like, as I get older, I've always been a big fan, like, of the horror, of the Hammer horror films and stuff. And go ahead.
It's one for the books. I mean, it really is. For a little movie that that they made the first movie for $50,000, and they made the second one for a couple $100,000, and then they made the third one for a little more than $1 million. For them to see the returns, and for them to see people lined up around the block to enjoy the experience. And one thing, let me just, getting into the weeds a little bit about movies. Damien is a really good director, and he's a great film editor. A lot of the good juice of a movie happens when you cut it in real tight, when your instincts on how to edit are really tight. And also, this is just the movie gods coming down and giving Damien Leone a present. David Howard Thornton is brilliant as this, voiceless character doing all these hideous things. He nailed it. He nailed it. And, the first time that David Howard Thornton put on the mask and played Art the Clown, there was no direction. There was no direction in the script. he just, Damien wanted to do this little movie, and David Howard Thornton built all those nuances into the project, and look what's happened. And I'm so proud of him, and I'm so glad that we can call them friends.
Yeah, that's amazing. And then you mentioned a few times, the relationships and the experiences you've had at the conventions. What's been some of your favorite memories on the road doing these conventions?
Oh, my favorite memories. Oh, just seeing old friends, experiencing the joy. First of all, experiencing the joy in people's faces. As I get older, I've learned to really appreciate the fact that, what I've done for a living, the fact that I'm an actor and I say lines and I create a character and do behaviors, and it entertains people, and it's entertained people for their entire lifetime. I find that, it's really cool. And then I run into old acting comrades that I hadn't seen in a long time. I mean, Vern Troyer, he's passed away now, but I worked with Vern a couple of times, and getting to hang with him and meet him at the conventions was really fun. Warwick Davis. Warwick is a wonderful dude. I worked in the Leprechaun 2, and I've known Warwick, and I've known Warwick through Ron because he played Willow. Bobby Carradine. Bobby and I go way, way back. Every once in a while, I see him at a show. Linda Blair. Linda and I go way back, so it's getting to, it's at that, sometimes we have some really, really good dinners where we'll, 3 or 4 of us will go out, Kat, other people's wives or girlfriends or whatever. I had the opportunity a few months ago. Henry Winkler was at a convention, and my brother went and did a convention. So I was at the convention, Kat was at the convention, and our daughter Rafi was at the convention. And Ron and Henry organized a dinner where it was just us. We went out and had dinner. And Henry is such a wonderful dude. And Henry took to our daughter so beautifully. And Rafi just loves Henry. And it was just a great experience. Getting to share that with our daughter was really special. I'd say my relationship with Henry, we go way back.
Yeah. We had the pleasure of meeting Henry at a convention that came through Cleveland, me and my daughters, and he took like a million selfies with my daughters. He was so friendly and such a good guy. It was awesome meeting the guy I knew as the Fonz, down there hanging out with my daughters.
Yeah, well, that's it. That's Henry. A lot of people will say he's the nicest guy in show business.
Oh yeah, for sure. He seemed like that.
Well, hey, listen, Bill.
Yeah.
Listen, Bill.
Yeah, I was gonna get ready and wrap up with you.
Okay.
Do you have a minute for one more question?
Sure.
Yeah. These are some of the questions I normally ask my guests that I have on. Before I get ready and let you go, who are 3 people who've inspired you and you can credit for making you the person you are today?
Well, my mom and my dad, big number 1 and a number 1 too. So I got 2 number 1s. And I've always respected my brother, the way he's handled situations, both on screen and off screen. I thought I am so proud. I know, Ron's had this spectacular career, and I'm really proud that he's my big brother. So that's easy, Listen, I've worked with a lot of good actors. I've actually worked with very few people that I would consider to be jerks. So my experiences with people are mostly, at the end of the day, we all recognize that it's really hard, and yet, there's a camaraderie. There's one guy in particular, Sean Kanan. Sean Kanan is an actor, and he works on Bold and the Beautiful. He's actually going to be an actor that's going to be in another Ice Cream Man. And Sean and Michelle, that's Sean's wife, and Kat and I we're close. We're good people. We're good family friends, you know. And Sean, I worked on Bold and the Beautiful. I did 13 episodes of the show a year ago. And it was a great experience. And I wasn't really thinking it was going to be that good of an experience, but I got a lot of great, not so much guidance, but I got, and I wouldn't even say he led me. It was by example. I saw the way he was processing the fact that we were shooting so fast and doing so much stuff that I took his vibe as a cue to then lock in and do it. And you know, I know this isn't going to come out before the award ceremony, but I was nominated for an Emmy as best guest performer on a soap opera, and the award ceremony is going to be later on this week. So by the time this thing airs, we're going to know whether I'm a winner or not. But I just want to say that it was a wonderful experience working on Beautiful, and you know, hats off to Sean for sort of helping guiding me, and Brad Bell, the guy that runs Bold and the Beautiful, you know. And also too, in the second half of my life, my wife Kat has been really instrumental at pushing me and getting me out of my comfort zone, you know. And because I was at a period in after my dad passed away,
So that you can be comfortable.
after my dad died, I kind of took a sabbatical, and I was thinking I was about ready to kind of check out. And I met my wife, and I realized I don't want to check out. I want to stay in the pocket with her. So anyway, I got to give a shout out to my wife.
Awesome. Shout out to Kat. Well, I'm grateful for Kat for
And
helping
also-
set us up.
Yeah, and also I do want to say this. You know, I'm an actor, and people have a perception of me because they see an edited version of the job that I do. But the fact is I'm a human being, and I have my ups and downs. I have my struggles, the twists and turns of life. You know, I have unique twists and turns, but then again, everybody in life has twists and turns. And I just want people to know that it's not, you know, my life is not like a sitcom, or my life is not like, you know, a movie. My life is very much, you know, probably like most people's lives, with ups and downs and twists and turns. And I just, you know, hopefully with my parents giving me some leadership early on in my life, I hope I haven't made too many tragic mistakes, and hopefully I can keep rocking and rolling for a few years to come.
I hope so too. Clint, thank you so much for your time. I'm grateful for this opportunity to talk to you, and it was a real pleasure. Real quick, any message you have for our military members currently serving overseas?
Hey, guys and girls in uniform, thank you very much. Your service is awesome, and I'm as an American citizen, I'm very indebted that we got people, smart people, tough people that are willing to queue up and serve their country. So thank you very much.
Awesome. Clint, I appreciate your time so much, brother. It was awesome talking with you, and look forward to what's to come with you.
Cool. Well, hopefully our paths will cross.
Yes, I hope you guys come back to Cleveland, or I'll catch you at a con nearby for sure.
Okay, for sure, Bill.
All right, you guys take care and drive safe.
Okay, be well.
Bye-bye.
Alright! Listen up! Hold on to your seats! Grab your girls, grab your beers!
Hey everybody, this is Charlie from Backdraft, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle.
This is Mark Metcalf, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey Domain Cleveland Radio.
You are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio. Yes, Kato Kalin listens to this all the time.
Welcome to today's your host.
I am Monty Heath, so one Heath, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle.
Hey, what's up? It's John from Skillet, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle on Domain Cleveland Radio.
Fasten your seatbelts.